and we are going to fix it in this video. We're going to use the court cards from the suit of the cups to do this work. And what we're going to do is, most people, when they start reading tarot, they tend to overly personify the court cards, try to make them all into specific individuals. And that's why most tarot readers find, when you try to read for others, that when the court cards come up, your readings get very clunky, and that's generally when your readings start to fall apart, and it can be one of the most frustrating things for new tarot readers to try to work through. So today in this video, we're going to try to make it very easy for you to work through my 4x4 grid on how to read the court cards and use them for your readings. What I love about the court cards is it gives you a three-dimensional view if you use this 4x4 approach that really gives a lot more depth to the understanding of where people are emotionally and then how they can move from there. Since the cups deal with water sign energy, so this will be things dealing with your emotions or relationships, we're going to use these examples. I tend to use it in rank order of maturity, with the page of cups being the lowest in maturity and the king of cups being the highest. Therefore, when the page of cups comes up, it usually signals that this card is really a fertile environment for things on that cup's emotional scale, relationships, whatever the case may be. So it's just the environment around you is conducive. It's like having a fertile soil where you need to put the seeds in and grow the seeds. You got to start with a great environment, otherwise the plants won't grow the crops that you're hoping to. So in this case, what the page of cups means is that the environment around you is conducive towards, in this case, if you want to have a relationship or start dating. And so I've seen the page of cups card come up in many readings that I've done. It can be things from, you are, when you're now finally single and you're actually interested in a relationship, you move to a city or a place that has a more, younger population, or, a college town or something like that, where there might be single people out there for you to date. I've seen this card come up also in readings where it could just mean, you've shifted from working night shift to actually being able to go out in the night and actually meet people. I've seen this card be, all kinds of range of things, but what it generally ends up meaning is the environment around you is now in a good spot. It's like the luck or the environment around you is conducive towards achieving this goal, and that's really the first step you need in order to accomplish your goals, is make sure you're not swimming upstream or fighting against the environment that's around you. The next card here we have next up in maturity is the Knight of Cups. So knights are really, it's in the next step up. So this will be new messages, where pages really deal with the environment that's around you. The knight starts to really have inklings or messages. It's not all the way to the most mature energy that's coming, but it's the next step up. So that's why oftentimes when I see tarot card readings with the Knight of Cups, this could be either, meeting someone that you might be interested in, or having them actually ask you out on a date, or even just start to talk to somebody. Since knights really deal with communication, that's where you can see almost this offering of the cup here on the horse, kind of bridging this emotional gap of the river here. What it really talks about is, this is someone that you may have just met. I have seen in relationship readings, which we'll talk later, if you have multiple of these cards come up, a lot of times the higher maturity cards, like the king or queen energy, will be your current relationship, and the Knight of Cups might be a new suitor, or a third wheel in a love triangle, whatever the case might be, that is coming into the situation. So when people ask about certain relationships and wondering if there's other distractions or some infidelity in the relationship, a lot of times you would look for where this Knight of Cups energy is coming in and what are the cards around it, because that gives you insight into how this new energy is coming in to kind of make a mess of the relationship. But at its core, because knights really, think about the historical knight imagery where they rush in to save the damsel in distress. So knights tend to rush into situations, so maybe they haven't thought all the way through. That's why you should always have caution with it, because this might be someone who, even if you don't know their intentions or they're not even sure their intentions, they might just ask you out or ask for your number or start talking to you, and you might take it the wrong way, or you might think it's they're more interested in you than they really are, but you just haven't spent enough time with them. There's not that maturity of the relationship or the connection to really figure out what they really want out of the situation. That's where, when things are in this night energy phase, it's in the beginning phases, you really haven't figured it out, and that's where oftentimes in tarot card readings I've done in relationships, you can get emotionally hurt because you thought it was heading in one direction, they thought it was heading in a different direction, or just for fun or casual, and that's where people can get really that mismatch in the energies. can be really difficult. So understanding that before you go into those situations can be very helpful to avoid those types of hurtful situations, especially if you're trying to meet new people or find the right one and you have great intentions to do that and someone else does not. The next energy up here is the Queen of Cups. So the Queen of Cups is the master over their internal emotions. The Queen of Cups is one of only few cards in the tarot where you actually see the cup suit is like closed. So you've got this kind of top here on the cups where all the others, they're open to receiving. And that kind of symbolizes this internal mastery that the queen has. So in a lot of cases, this really says you know in your heart of hearts what you want to do, but you haven't yet spoken it out to anyone. You haven't told anybody. So if at some point, you start dating somebody and you're trying to figure out if you're going to be in a committed relationship or you're going to break up and end the relationship. When people ask those types of questions in the tarot and I get readings on this, when I see the Queen of Cups come up, what it often tells me is you know internally in your heart what you want to do, whether it is you want to continue with this relationship or you want to break up this relationship. However, you haven't yet communicated that to the other party or even told people around you that you made up your mind. But compared to the page of the energy or the knight energy we just talked about, the queen energy has said you spent a lot of time thinking about this and you really know where you sit in this. So, when the Queen of Cups energy comes up and someone says, oh, I think I want to end this relationship or I don't want to move forward with it, you may have some friends who are surprised and say, well, this is the first time I'm hearing this. I didn't know anything was going on. And they may try to talk you out of it. Usually when the Queen of Cups energy comes up, you really can't, because that's mastery of your own internal energy. You have already spent so much time on thinking about this and trying to get your emotions sorted out exactly how you feel that there's almost no talking you out of your decision, because you have spent the time, to really figure out what you want in this relationship or in this energy. And if it's not something you want to pursue, then it's obviously not something that's for you, and you're going to move forward and move on in a different direction. And a few words from someone's challenging you or saying maybe they're right for you is not going to change your mind, because you've spent tons and tons of time. If you see page or knight energy, then that is something like you may just not know exactly what you want. When you get to the queen energy, that's why it's this three-dimensional depth, where page is like just surface level, knights are beginning of connections, but queen is like internally you really know what you want to do. Now you may not have had the conversation with them and they may be in a totally different space of whether they want the relationship to move forward or not, but you personally know exactly what you want to do. You just haven't started to take action on it. And that brings us to the kings in this one. So the King of Cups is really the kings speak things out and to make things true. They rule the kingdom. So the King of Cups is taking action upon this. And that's why you can see, I've talked on this in my tarot course, we can see my link in my bio. When cards face to the left, it's obviously a more passive or introspection type of energy, whereas they look to the right, like this King of Cups here, it's more action taking. And so that's where someone who obviously you may ask someone out, where you made the environment maybe passively good around you. You can see this pattern repeat through many of the court cards, specifically shown here in the cup suit. But when you get to the knight energy, this is someone who not only knows what they want, but they're ready to take action on it, which is, that's why when you do relationship readings, a lot of your current relationship, especially if it's a relationship you've been in for a long time, it's going to show up with this King of Cups type of energy, because that is the relationship that you've been in for a long time. You have a lot of history, a lot of maturity, you understand each other, and that's why you'll get this duality in readings if there's a love triangle or some difficulty, where you may see this king or queen energy representing the current relationship, and you may have this knight energy coming in to represent the third party, the other person coming in the situation, the person that is causing conflict within your own relationship that can be distracting someone, because the person you've spent the most time with and really well, that's going to be a more mature energy. That's why you get this three-dimensional depth with the king energy, whereas someone you just met or someone who just reached out and started talking to you, that's more knight energy. That's just in the early days. You may not even know what you want to do. You don't even know where things are headed, but that's because it's a very immature energy compared to queen energy or king energy. So that's why a lot of times when I look into full cut across tarot card readings on relationships, it's very important to where the King of Cups comes up, because that really positions the status and you can get a good picture of what is going on in the relationship. Someone say, hey, I think something's going on in our relationship, and you may focus on this other person. Someone's talking to my significant other and I don't like it. How do you fix it? You may come really to the tarot card reading trying to get information on that. But when I see the King of Cups energy, or even the Queen of Cups energy for the current relationship, and I see some other conflict cards around them, it'd say, well, I think there's lots of things going on or going wrong in your relationship right now. And that's why they're open to getting distracted by someone else, because instead of focusing on, like, let's shut off this opportunity here, it's like, why are the reasons they're interested in a different opportunity? It's because there's lots of things going on in the current relationship that need to be worked on, or at least addressed, or get out into the open. So when you put all these together, you can really start to see how now I always tell people, in order to be a successful tarot card reader, you have to make the court cards your friends. You can't be afraid of them. You can't let them ruin your readings. But once you adopt this 4x4 energy, where it's really just maturity on the plane of the suit that you're reading about, it becomes so much more easier to read through. And then you bring this 3-dimensional depth where you gain way more understanding and can communicate to the people almost how they are feeling. If they're not sure, say, well, you really don't know how you're feeling. You're just at this knight energy or page energy. But if you're in queen or king energy, yes, you really do understand. You should have more confidence in the decision or the way you're thinking or feeling right now, because you have spent more time with it and you are more mature with that energy. So therefore you can trust your gut in this situation and move forward based on those decisions. Because some people get to that kind of king or queen energy, they know what they want to do, but then they still hesitate to take action on it, or are afraid to take action on it, or afraid to end the relationship if it's not good and that's what they want to do. That's where you can kind of encourage them to say, well, you kind of know exactly what you want, you know where this is going, so you got to trust your gut and trust that you know what the best thing is to move forward. So if you want to learn more about any of this, you can check out the links in my description to join my tarot reading course for more information.